Hey everybody, John and Ted here. We just thought we'd come on here today and talk a little bit about HangCasting, a little bit about what it is. So, hi Ted.
Hello, John. How are you this wonderful day?
I'm good. So, we're excited to be here, and like I said, here's HangCasting. You know, it's about Google Hangouts and podcasting, so that you can achieve massive traffic and expert status super quickly. Um, You know, Ted, it's interesting. We were just talking the other day. I'm trying to think of who I was talking to, but you know, I was saying there's such a tremendous need for handcasting for causes and charities and people to really kind of get their expert marketing status out there. And not only that, but it's a great way to kind of connect and network and meet other experts.
Yeah, and you can concentrate on a completely different audience as well without any really extra work once it's all set up.
Absolutely, and you know, lots of people are trying to get their voice heard. I mean, it's a great way to get your marketing messages out too, and really get your voice heard. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that gets done. So why handcasting? Well, it's the combination, like we said, of Google Hangouts, bringing in podcasting, and bringing also in social media, because we all know the power of social media, right? Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Twitter, they're all super powerful, and people use them on a regular basis.
And what we're doing here is doing a combination of them.
Absolutely. And how does it work? Well, Hangouts are perfect for handcasting because we're creating content, right? We can use it to create telesummits. We could use it to create interviews. It's becoming a huge platform for doing webinars with Webinar Jam and Easy Webinar and Webinar Fusion. I mean, there's so many different webinar programs that utilize Google Hangouts. And of course, podcasting. Look at the popularity right now of podcasting. It's tremendously huge. Everybody wants to do it, right?
They certainly do, but not everybody knows how to do it.
Or combine the two together. So in this system, what we've done is we create a system where we're bringing the power of three very powerful search engines together, and we're going to include a fourth, which we'll talk about in a second. But right now, Google, the #1 search engine, YouTube, the #2 search engine, iTunes, you know, maybe we don't think of it as a search engine, or most people don't, but I think it ranks about #7 from what I've seen. And then Amazon, right? We want to bring Kindle into this system. For the transcripts, etc., and be able to publish those as Kindle books. So not only are we combining these three powerful systems, but we're adding in yet another one. So let's talk a little bit about how this happens. You know, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a niche for our show, and it can be a Google Hangout show, it can be a regular webinar that we're going to repurpose as a podcast. We're going to decide on our presenters. Is it something we're going to do by ourselves as a solo show, or are we going to have guests? What's the frequency going to be? Is it going to be daily, monthly, weekly? You know, what is that going to be? And the length of show, just to kind of give you a variety of answers to that. So many people do like 1-hour shows, 30-minute shows, 10-minute shows in a lot of cases. The average commute we often hear, Ted, is what, 30 minutes for somebody driving to work.
Yeah, about 30 minutes, and what better thing to do than listen to a podcast?
Exactly. You know, why listen to the radio and put that in your head when you can listen to something valuable, we always say. And of course, market research on iTunes is tremendously important. You know, being able to go in and take a look and see what other people's artwork looks like, see what your competition looks like, and then also see how you compare and how you can differentiate yourself from those folks, and identify the avatar of your viewer or listener. Who is that person going to be? That's tremendously important. Right? Artwork is our podcast's first impression, and you know, one of the things I said we're going to be looking at very closely when we go do our market search on iTunes. So we want to look at the artwork of shows in the same category. And like I said, how can you make yours stand out from the crowd? Look really close at what the artwork looks like for the same shows or similar shows to what you're thinking of. And think about some different ways that you could make yours look different and make your brand stand out above the others.
So look at all the rest and make yours better.
We're going to decide on a podcast host. And the reason we're going to do that is because you can't host, well, you can host podcasts on your own website, but your service provider isn't going to like it. You're probably not going to be hosted for very long. You're going to tie up a lot of bandwidth really quickly because podcasts get a tremendous amount of downloads. You know, we're talking about 2,500, 5,000 downloads monthly, possibly more. Julie Caraccio, who worked with us, went from 2,500 to 10,000 downloads in 4 months. So you want to keep that in mind. Amazon S3 might not be your best way to go. Yes, it's relatively inexpensive to download from, but you know, again, they do look at the bandwidth and the amount of usage there. It might be more expensive than all-encompassing services like Libsyn and Blueberry and SoundCloud, who are, you know, really ingrained in the podcast industry. Excuse me, man, I'm tongue-tied today, Ted.
Certainly are, but yes, they're the main players.
They are the main players. And of course, website considerations, right? We want to look at how we're going to host it. Are we going to have it on our own HTML site? Most folks are using WordPress with a particular theme and particular plugins. And, you know, we want to try to get an exact match domain for our show and branding that works with it. We want to do social sharing. You know, we want to share photos on Instagram and Twitter. We want to share posts on Facebook and memes on Facebook and Google+. And Pinterest for that matter. So I mean, there's a lot of places that we can do social sharing. And we want to decide on whether we're going to do audio or video or both.
And don't forget with your websites, make sure they're responsive, otherwise you'll be penalized from Google.
Exactly. And you know, another thing that you really want to think about really carefully are interview considerations. You know, aside from what most people think, not everybody's familiar with Hangouts. In fact, Ted, right, we've done a couple surveys of our groups, and we asked them how many of them have been involved or done their own Hangout, and only about 30% said they've recorded their own Hangouts. So it's really pretty wide open territory. So don't assume that, hey, everybody's been on a Hangout, it's a big thing, everybody knows how to do it, because you know what? Most people don't yet. And you're going to want to get on with your guests and make sure that they're ready to go, that they've got the right sound equipment, that they're hardwired, that they've got everything that they need to have in place so they sound great and look their best. You're going to want to create trailers with them because if you're meeting with them anyways, you might as well go through the process of creating a trailer that you can use for publicity for the show and for the interview you're going to do. You want to have a script or outline for your interview. Now, some people need more of an outline than others. Some folks write them out completely. Others just need bullet points. Like Ted and I, we usually don't use much of a script. We just use some bullet points. And are you going to do a live show, pre-recorded, or both? So that's something you want to think about. When you first start, you might want to do a pre-recorded show and then transition to a live show if you're going to do something weekly. Because then you're taking advantage of the benefit of Hangouts on air and podcasting together. I think it would be really hard to do that on a daily basis, though. So before we're submitting to iTunes, we want to have a site that's ready to go. We want to make sure our RSS is set up correctly with our podcasting plugin. Typically, that's Blueberry PodPress is the free plugin that's used most. We're going to have a minimum of 4 to 6 episodes ready. Why is that? Because we want to be taking advantage of getting out there in new and noteworthy, which we get for 6 to 8 weeks, and that's where iTunes allows us to take advantage of their system, and they're publicizing our show for us because we're a new broadcast on their system. And of course, we want to commit to a regular Hangout recording schedule because you don't want to be one and done, right? You want to have a regular recording schedule so people can expect to see you on a particular time and see new episodes coming out all the time. And of course, you want to have the recommended equipment and setup for your best audio and video quality. The equipment is so important, isn't it, Ted?
It certainly is. If you don't have the right equipment, you might as well give up now. I mean, you can have basic equipment, but just spend a little bit of money. That doesn't cost too much, and get some good equipment.
Exactly. And the most popular camera right now is Logitech. C920 is what we use. C930 is a wider angle camera, also tremendously popular and really gaining popularity. And if you were going to do, you know, maybe even record some live recordings from, say, a conference room in your office or something like that, you may want the C930 so that you can fit in additional people, in a room type area, in a conference room type area. Or if you're going to do whiteboard stuff, some people like to do that. Tons of different microphones you can choose from, right? We get Sony Lavalier microphones, or lapel mic, the Blue Yeti, which Ted and I use, Blue Snowball, which I started with actually. Maybe you're even going to use the microphone in your camera, which has a great microphone. We don't mention it here, but the C920 is usually a great place to start with just the camera mic. We've got the Heil PR40, which is, and the Rode Podcaster, which are microphones that big podcasters use, and the iRig, which is a microphone that you can use from your iPad or iPhone. So some huge choices. You have photo backdrops and lighting. You can get all kinds of things here, wide variety of stuff. I've got one of these little flip-ons here on the end that you can turn. It's white on one side, black on the other, folds up like a kid's toy. It's awesome. And you can also even get custom backgrounds printed with your own branding on them. They print them on a microfiber-like material, and it's just very easy to work with. You get done, you throw it over one of these photo stands. You get done, you fold it all up, toss it in a bucket, pull it out for the next show, right? Works super easy. So let's talk a little bit about how people start with their HangCasting, because we mentioned before they're going to start from a couple different directions. In this case, this is marketer number one. They're doing a weekly webinar series. The product owner does the webinar. They've got an affiliate strategy with the trailers and the webinar. And at the end, they're going to use automated webinars that they're going to continuously run as well as a podcast. So they're going to repurpose that webinar as a podcast. Marketer number two, this is somebody, and this is actually how I got my start with producing Hangouts, or Hangout telesummits, mega telesummits. We had several guests, 12 to 15 guests. We do them all in one day. And then when we got done, we had a product with video, audio, and transcripts, and we turned them into individual podcasts, and we brought people back to the video and the full product that they could buy at the end. We got marketer number three, people who do webinars and turn it into a video blog and then a podcast. So you see that quite frequently. And this is more of kind of a free strategy. You might do free weekly webinars for your peeps and then turn it into video blog posts and a final podcast. So again, you can bring people back to your blog, bring people back to your videos, and to your products. So it's a great affiliate strategy. Anything you want to add to that, Ted?
No, there's just so many different avenues that you can use. It's unbelievable, but the main thing is just get started and start using them and think outside of the box.
Exactly. And Julie, when she started with us, she was doing HOA interviews, or she wanted to do that. She was tied into doing her own YouTube, where she actually went to a studio once a week to produce that with an actual producer, studio producer. And now she's turned it around. She's doing it from home. She's doing it through Hangouts on Air. And she's getting 100 new YouTube subs each month. She started out with like around 2,500 downloads on iTunes. And now she's actually up to, in month number 4 now, she's up over 10,000 downloads. And that's amazing. That actually puts her in like the top 5% of podcasting. So you can do an awful lot with this strategy. And, here's some ways that you can find us. Best place to find us right now is on Google+. So you can find us on Google+. We have a community for HangCasting. So if you'd like to learn more about us and what we do, it's a great way to find us. So anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this quick little run-through of what HangCasting is and is all about. And reach out if we can help.
If you want to know more, just contact us.
And look in the description of this video. And we'll see you on the inside. Thanks. Bye for now.